A father's reckoning. The sun spilled through the living room curtains, casting golden lines across the faded armchair where I sat, waiting for my daughter, Sophie. It was Father's Day, and despite years of small letdowns, a spark of hope flickered in me. The old clock on the mantel ticked steadily, each second a reminder of the time I'd invested in her. 22 years since her mother's passing, every sacrifice carved into my soul. The room held the faint scent of lavender polish, a ritual I'd kept from my late wife, Clara, though the family photos on the shelf were my true anchor. Sophie as a wide-eyed child, me grinning beside her at her high school graduation, always us, together. The doorbell rang and my heart lifted. I opened the door to find Sophie, her dark hair pulled into a tight ponytail, her designer jacket too sharp for our quiet Milwaukee suburb. She held a small gift bag, the tissue paper wrinkled like an afterthought. Her husband, Ethan, stood behind her, his smile as slick as his polished shoes. "Happy Father's Day, Dad," Sophie said, her voice warm but laced with something sharp, like honey over a blade. She handed me the bag, her smile tight, as if forced for a snapshot. I managed a smile, my fingers grazing the crumpled tissue. "Thanks, sweetheart." The bag felt light, almost empty. I sat back in the armchair, their eyes on me. Sophie's expectant, Ethan's faintly amused. The clock's ticking seemed louder, or maybe it was my pulse. I pulled out a pair of grey socks, the kind you'd grab for $12 at a department store, the price tag still dangling like a quiet insult. My chest tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. "Socks," I said, holding them up. "Practical, just what I always wanted." Sophie's laugh was sharp, fragile. "Exactly. Something you'll use, right? No need for anything fancy." Her polished nails gleamed as she adjusted her scarf, a deliberate gesture that widened the distance between us. Ethan smirked, leaning against the wall. "Yeah, Tom, you're a straightforward guy. No need for extravagance." His tone dripped with condescension, shrinking the room, the air thick with their shared arrogance. I nodded, folding the socks with a care I didn't feel. "Appreciate it, both of you." My voice stayed steady, but my hands trembled slightly, betraying the storm inside. I glanced at Clara's photo, her gentle eyes watching from the frame. Had I failed her, raising a daughter who saw me as a duty? The thought stung, but I pushed it down. "Staying for coffee?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Oh, we've got plans," Sophie said, glancing at her phone. "Dinner with Richard, Ethan's dad. You know how he loves hosting." She exchanged a quick look with Ethan, a flicker of something secrecy, maybe, or triumph. My stomach twisted, but I let it go. They were gone in minutes, leaving the house quieter than before. The clock's ticking pounded in my skull. I carried the socks to the kitchen, needing to move. The gift bag caught on the counter's edge, the tissue tearing like a flimsy promise. I set the socks down and reached for a glass, my hands unsteady. The memory hit: Sophie's college tuition, $35,000 a year, paid by selling my dream of a lakeside cabin. I'd told myself it was worth it, that she'd carry our family's love forward. The glass slipped, shattering on the floor. I stared at the shards, jagged and broken, my breath uneven. Had it all been for nothing? I swept up the pieces, each scrape of the broom fueling the ache in my chest. Sophie's voice echoed, "Something you'll use, right?" When had she stopped seeing me as her father and started seeing me as a tool? The kitchen smelled of coffee now, sharp and grounding. I sat at the table, the socks mocking me from the counter. My laptop was open, a habit from checking work emails, but today I opened social media, seeking a distraction. That's when I saw it, a photo posted by Sophie an hour ago. Richard, Ethan's father, smiling at a restaurant, his wrist adorned with a gleaming Patek Philippe watch. The kind that screamed wealth. Her caption read, "To the best father-in-law, a gift that suits your style." My blood froze. I zoomed in on the image. The watch's face glinted under the chandelier's light, unmistakable. I remembered Sophie's call 2 months ago, her voice shaky. "Dad, I need $8,000. It's critical for medical expenses." I'd sent the money that day, no questions asked. My hands shook as I stared at the screen. The socks lay forgotten, the clock ticked on, and something inside me broke not loudly but quietly, like a chain snapping. Sophie called 15 times later that day, her voice frantic. "Dad, don't do this." But it was too late. I was on a path with no room for turning back. The rain tapped my windshield as I parked near State Street, the wiper's steady rhythm matching the pulse in my temples. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, a printed photo of Richard's watch tucked in my coat pocket. Yesterday's shock had solidified into a cold need for truth. The Milwaukee skyline loomed through the drizzle, its grey towers indifferent to my turmoil. I stepped out, the air sharp with wet pavement and the faint perfume of high-end shops. The jewelry store's sign glowed ahead, promising answers or ruin. Inside, the store was a world apart from my modest home marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the air heavy with privilege. A clerk in a sharp blazer approached, her smile professional. "Welcome, sir. Looking for something special?" Her eyes flicked to my worn jacket, my scuffed boots. I didn't belong here, and she knew it. Neither did Sophie, but she'd walked these floors with my money. "I need information," I said, pulling out the photo. My voice was steady, though my heart pounded. "This watch? Was it bought here?" I unfolded the paper, the Patek Philippe stark against the white. The clerk's eyes flickered with recognition, and my stomach churned. She hesitated, glancing toward a woman at the back, older, poised, clearly the manager. "Let me check," she said, taking the photo and vanishing behind a curtain. I stood, the store's silence pressing in, broken only by a display clock's faint tick. That sound again, time, always slipping, always taunting. I thought of Sophie's call last night, her voice desperate. "Dad, just talk to me." I hadn't answered. The manager emerged, holding the photo. "I'm Ms. Larson," she said, her tone cautious. "This is a Patek Philippe Calatrava. We sold one in April." She handed the photo back, studying me. "Why do you ask?" My throat tightened, but I kept my gaze steady. "It was a gift. I need to confirm who paid for it." I slid my bank statement across the counter, the 8,000 charge circled in red. "This is my account." "Was it used?" Larson's face softened, a hint of empathy. She tapped at a tablet, then nodded. "The transaction matches, paid in full April 10th. A young woman made the purchase, with a man. She said it was for a family member." Her words hit like a blow, confirming my worst fears. "Sophie, Ethan, my money." "Is the watch real?" I asked, my voice low, almost a growl. Larson nodded. "Absolutely, we don't sell fakes. That piece was 8,300 with tax." She paused, sensing my tension. "Is there an issue, sir?" I forced a tight smile. "Just needed to know." I took the photo and statement, folding them carefully as if they were evidence for a trial. The store's lights were too bright, the air too thick. I thanked Larson and stepped into the rain, my boots splashing in puddles. The truth was mine, and it was uglier than I'd feared. In my car, the rain blurred the windshield, and I sat, the photo crumpled in my fist. The memory of Sophie's call 2 months ago surfaced, her voice soft, urgent. "It's for medical bills, Dad." I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. I'd believed her, sent the money, felt like a good father. Now I felt like a fool. I glanced at my reflection in the rearview mirror, grey hair, weary eyes, but a new hardness. The man staring back wasn't the Tom who'd accepted socks with a smile. My phone sat on the passenger seat, Sophie's missed calls piling up, 15 yesterday, 4 more today. She knew I'd seen the photo. She knew I was digging. My fingers hovered over her name, the screen glowing in the dim car. The rain pounded harder, urging me toward confrontation. I pressed call, my jaw tight, and waited as it rang. Whatever she said next, it wouldn't change the truth. The rain hammered my car's roof as I parked outside my house, the Milwaukee suburb cloaked in evening gloom. My phone glowed in my hand, Sophie's name flashing, 18 calls now, each one a jab at my resolve. The truth from the jewelry store burned in my chest. 8,000, my money, on a watch for Richard while I got socks. I pressed call, the rain blurring the world outside. The line clicked and Sophie's voice burst through, sharp and impatient. "Dad, finally. Why haven't you answered?" Her tone mixed relief and irritation, as if I owed her something. I gripped the steering wheel, my voice low. "I've been busy. Had to check on something. like an 8,000 Patek Philippe. Silence fell, just the rain's steady roar. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, but her voice trembled, a crack in her facade. "You're being absurd." "Am I?" I leaned forward, staring at the windshield's streaks. "I went to the store, Sophie, State Street. They confirmed it. You used my card for Richard." The clock in my mind ticked, counting her hesitation. She laughed, brittle and forced. "God, you always blow things out of proportion. It was a gift, okay? Richard's done so much for us. You wouldn't understand." Her condescension stung, but her panic was clear. She was scrambling. "A gift," I repeated, my tone flat. "With my money. You said it was for medical bills." "Vital, you said." My hand clenched into a fist. "What else have you lied about?" "This isn't your business," she shot back, her voice rising. "You don't get to control me. I'm not a kid anymore, Dad." The word dad was a dart, thrown to wound. I remembered her at 17, begging for a car, promising she'd make me proud. I'd believed her then, not now. "Then act like an adult," I said, my voice cold. "Explain it." The rain intensified, sealing me in this moment. Sophie's breathing was quick, uneven, she was cornered. "You're so small-minded," she spat. "I don't have time for this." The line went dead, the silence louder than the storm. I stepped out, the rain soaking my jacket, the cold clearing my head. I opened my phone's notes app, typing her words, "Small-minded, not your business." Each one a brick in the case I was building. The street was empty, the houses glowing with warmth I no longer felt. Sophie thought she could dismiss me, but she'd miscalculated. I wasn't the pushover she assumed. A text arrived from an unknown number. "Mr. Harris, I'm Laura Bennett, attorney. Heard you might need help. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m. 150 N. Wells." The rain blurred the screen, but the message was a lifeline. My thumb hovered over reply, the clock in my mind ticking toward something new. Laura Bennett's office was a cluttered haven in Milwaukee's bustle, the air thick with coffee and old files. The morning sun cut through the blinds, striping a desk piled with papers. I sat across from Laura, my bank statement spread out, the 8,000 charge a glaring wound. Sophie's venom from last night. "You're so small-minded" lingered, but here I felt a spark of possibility. The clock on the wall ticked, steady, a reminder that time wasn't done with me. Laura leaned back, her navy blazer creased, her eyes sharp despite the smile lines. "So," she said, tapping a pen, "your daughter's got a thing for pricey watches and lying." Her blunt humor caught me off guard. I nodded, managing a wry smile. "That's about it." She scanned the statement. "She used your card, lied about it, and those socks bold move." She snorted, leaning forward. "Let's talk options. You want to protect your money, right?" Her question was direct, her tone warm but firm. I shifted, the chair creaking. "I do. But she's my daughter." The words were heavy, a confession of my weakness. I'd built my life for Sophie after Clara's death, every choice for her. Laura's expression softened. "You're not the first parent she's burned, Tom. Won't be the last unless you act." She slid a contract toward me. "We start by freezing her access to your accounts. Then we dig. See what else she's done." Her confidence was infectious. I signed the contract, my pen steady, a quiet vow. Laura nodded. "Good. We'll need every transaction she's touched. You sure about this? It's family." I stood, walking to the window. Milwaukee sprawled below, relentless. "I've given her everything," I said, my voice low. "Time I took something back." The words felt right. The clock ticked behind me, a call to action. We discussed details accounts, timelines, legal steps. Laura's humor eased the tension, her quip about teaching Sophie the value of $1 drawing a laugh. I left her office lighter, the sun warm as I stepped onto Wells Street. My phone buzzed a bank alert. A new 2,000 transaction attempted on my card, Sophie's name tied to it. My jaw tightened, but I wasn't surprised. The clock in my mind ticked louder, urging me forward. The bank's polished floor gleamed, its chill seeping through my shoes as I stood at the counter. The air hummed with the low drone of an air conditioner. In my hand, a form to block Sophie's access to my card, its lines stark and final. My pen hovered, 22 years of memories, her laughter, her tears, my sacrifices pressing against the decision. But the watch, her sneering, small-minded, drowned them out. I signed, the ink a defiant act. The manager, a woman with a tight bun, reviewed the form. This will take effect immediately. The secondary user, Sophie Harris, will be notified. She glanced at me, expecting hesitation. I nodded, my pulse racing. Appreciate it, I said, sliding the form back. Blocking her wasn't just about money, it was about reclaiming my dignity. I drove to a cafe to meet Laura, the place alive with chatter, the smell of fresh coffee grounding me. I slid into a booth across from her, her laptop open, a half-eaten muffin on a plate. Well, she asked, raising an eyebrow. Signed and done, I said, a faint smile tugging my lips. She's cut off. Laura grinned. Bet she'll love that more than those socks. Her humor was sharp, but her eyes held respect. I'm pulling records. Might find more of her sprees. You ready? I nodded, sipping coffee, its bitterness matching my mood. The cafe's clock read 11:50, a silent witness to my shift. Laura outlined next steps, tracking Sophie's spending, building a case. Her confidence steadied me. You're doing this for you, Tom, she said softly, not just to punish her. I met her gaze, seeing a friend who saw my worth. My phone buzzed. Sophie's name, her call angry, urgent. I let it ring, her voicemail spilling out. Dad, what did you do? My cards declined. Fix this now. Her fury was raw, but I smiled, thin and resolute. The clock in my mind ticked on, counting down to our next move. The living room was dim, the last of the May twilight fading through the curtains. I sat in the armchair, the sock's memory a bitter mark. My phone flashed with Sophie's name, 20 calls in an hour, each one testing my resolve. The mantel clock, long stopped, stared silently, mirroring my choice to halt her manipulations. Photos lined the shelf, Sophie at 6, her ponytail swinging. At 18, her graduation smile. Those moments felt like another life. The phone buzzed again, a voicemail. Sophie's voice erupted. Dad, what the hell? My cards declined. Fix this or we're done. Her words cut, but I stood, walking to the kitchen, the air faintly lavender-scented. My hands shook as I filled the kettle, but my mind was steady. Another call came, and I answered, my voice cold. Sophie, stop calling. Stop calling? She snapped, furious. You cut me off, Dad. How am I supposed to live? You're being selfish. Her accusation stung, but I didn't flinch. Selfish? I said, low and controlled. You spent $8,000 of my money on a watch for Richard. Lied about medical bills. Explain that. The kettle hissed, steam curling like my anger. Silence stretched, her breaths sharp. It's not what you think, she said, softer, manipulative. Richard's important to us. Just fix the card, please. The please was calculated, but I was done. No, I said, final. You made your choices. Live with them. I ended the call, my heart pounding, my resolve intact. Another voicemail. You'll regret this. Ethan won't let this slide. Ethan, her shadow, now a threat. I set the phone down, touching the stopped clock, its brass cool. Sophie wasn't my little girl anymore. I wasn't the father who'd forgive endlessly. The police station reeked of stale coffee and ink, its fluorescent lights buzzing. I sat in a cramped office, a manila folder open before me. Officer Grant, a stocky man with a skeptical squint, flipped through Sophie's complaint, accusing me of financial abuse for cutting off her access. Laura sat beside me, her presence a shield. Outside, Milwaukee's morning was grey, clouds low, mirroring my chest's weight. Grant cleared his throat. Mr. Harris, your daughter and son-in-law claim you've restricted their access to family funds, causing hardship. Explain. His tone implied guilt, but my hands tightened around my pen, steady. Family funds, I said, edged. It's my money. They spent $8,000 on a watch for someone else. I blocked them to stop the theft. Laura leaned forward, crisp. Officer, my client has the right to protect his assets. Sophie misrepresented expenses using his card without consent. We have bank statements, receipts, jeweler's confirmation. She slid a folder across, precise. This isn't abuse, it's self-defense. Grant scanned the documents, his frown shifting. This says the purchase was a Patek Philippe. She lied about the purpose. His skepticism turned towards Sophie's story, and I felt hope. Exactly, I said. She said it was for medical bills. Laura's hand brushed my arm, signaling calm. This complaint is retaliatory, she said. We're considering fraud charges. Grant closed the folder. We'll review this, but I'll need statements. I felt the room ease, Laura's confidence unshaken. In her car, she smirked. They're desperate. Filing a complaint's week. We've got them. I nodded, jotting will in my notebook. The city blurred past, and I wondered how far Sophie would go. The notary's office was calm, its air thick with aged paper and wood polish. I sat at an oak table, documents before me, each page a barrier against Sophie's greed. Laura checked clauses, her presence steadying. The spring sun warmed the room, but my hands were cold, gripping the pen. Rewriting my will, cutting Sophie out, was a knife to my heart. But also freedom. The notary, a quiet man with thinning hair, adjusted his glasses. Mr. Harris, this will designate your estate to a trust, with Ms. Bennett as executor, correct? I nodded, my throat tight. That's right, no direct beneficiaries. The words betrayed promises to Clara, to Sophie, but Sophie had shattered them. Laura smiled, encouraging. You're doing the right thing, Tom. Clean break. I signed, the pen scratching loud. I remembered drafting my first will after Clara's death, Sophie my only focus. Now I erased her name, each signature a severance. The notary stamped the pages. All done, copies filed by end of day. I thanked him, following Laura into the spring air. Milwaukee hummed, and I felt its energy. We walked to a park, children's laughter drifting. I sat on a bench, Laura beside me. This changes everything, I said. She's really gone. Laura nodded. Not gone, Tom. Just not your burden. Her words were soft, strong. There's more we can do, Richard, for instance. She didn't elaborate, and I trusted her. My phone buzzed. Richard's name, a voicemail. Tom, we need to talk. My office, 10 a.m. tomorrow. What did Sophie's father-in-law want? The clock in my mind ticked, counting down to answers. The sunset bathed Milwaukee in gold and pink, its glow softening the stark elegance of Richard's estate. I stepped through grand doors, the marble foyer gleaming, chandeliers casting sharp reflections. Laura's note, Richard knows. Be ready was in my pocket, my heart thudding with justice's approach. Richard waited in his study, his frame rigid behind a walnut desk, his face etched with anger. His eyes were dark as he gripped a velvet box. Laura stood nearby, alert. Tom, Richard said, his voice low, I owe you an apology. He slid the box across, its contents clear, a Patek Philippe, the one Sophie bought with my 8,000. I didn't touch it. You didn't know, I said, steady. She lied to us both. Richard's jaw tightened, his fingers shaking as he opened the box. The watch gleamed, mocking. She said it was her gift to thank me. I'd never have taken it if I knew. His honesty cut through the room's wealth, a man betrayed like me. Laura spoke, precise. Sophie misrepresented the funds. We have records, her signature, the jeweler's testimony. Richard slammed the box shut. She's been angling for my business, 2 investments, roles. I thought it was drive, it's greed. His words hinted at deeper schemes. I met his gaze. I don't want pity, Richard. I want what's right. He nodded, pushing the box to me. Take it, it's yours. I'll handle Sophie. I lifted the box, its weight grounding me, a piece of my dignity returned. Outside, the evening air was cool. In my car, I opened the box, the watch glinting. A memory flashed Richard at Sophie's wedding, praising her heart, now shattered. My phone buzzed. Sophie's text, we need to talk, a plea or a trap. I started the engine, the clock in my mind ticking. The morning sun warmed my porch, dew sparkling on the roses. Sophie stood there with Ethan, her hair loose, eyes red, her poise fraying. Ethan slouched, gaze down. Their defeat stirred no pity, only strength. I opened the door, arms crossed. What do you want? My voice was calm, unyielding. Sophie's lips quivered. Dad, we're sorry. We messed up. The watch, the money, it was a mistake. Let us make it right. Her eyes searched mine, but I saw her calculation. Ethan mumbled, Yeah, Tom, we didn't mean to hurt you. His cowardice was clear. I leaned against the railing. A mistake? You spent 8,000 of my money on a watch for Richard, lied about medical bills, filed a police complaint. That's a choice. Sophie's tears fell, but they didn't move me. We've lost everything, she whispered. Richard cut us off. Please, Dad, we need you. Her losses hinted at bigger plans, but I didn't care. You made your choices, I said. Live with them. Ethan shifted. We'll do anything, Tom. I shook my head, stepping back. There's nothing left to say. The door's hinges groaned as I closed it, Sophie's sobs fading. Inside, the stopped clock watched silently. My phone buzzed. Laura, park noon, final step. I glanced at the closed door, feeling the clock tick toward a future I'd claim. The park hummed with late May life, lilacs and grass sweet in the air. I walked with Laura, the gravel crunching, the sun warm. In my pocket, a 7,800 check from the jeweler who'd bought the watch, a sum I'd give to a youth shelter. Sophie's betrayal had lifted, replaced by freedom. Children's laughter rang, and I felt it. A new start. Laura nudged me, teasing, You could have bought a boat, Tom. I chuckled. I chose peace. Shelter gets the money. The decision felt right, turning Sophie's lie into good. Laura nodded. Good choice. Coffee date next time you're generous? Her wink drew a laugh, a spark of something more. At the lake I skimmed a stone, its ripples spreading. I remembered walking here with Clara, her hand in mine. I'd lost her, then Sophie, but found myself. Earlier, I'd visited the shelter, the director's gratitude humbling. This will change lives, she'd said. The watch, once betrayal, was now a bridge. Laura stopped by a bench. You've come far, Tom. From socks to this. I sat, the bench warm. Couldn't have done it without you, I said, meeting her eyes. You saw my worth. A breeze carried spring's scent, and I felt Clara's approval. Laura grinned. Stick with me, Tom. Community fund could use your heart. Her offer was a door ajar, and I liked its promise. I tossed another stone, the ripples spreading. The park hummed, and I was part of it, free from Sophie's lies. Laura offered her hand, and I took it, her touch steady. We walked on, her laughter blending with the breeze, and I knew I was ready for whatever came next. The clock in my mind ticked softly, a rhythm of hope.